Hi, and welcome to the Free Your Spirit podcast. I'm your guide, Carole Frey, founder of Free Spirited Wanderer, a conscious wellness business of yoga retreats, lifestyle coaching, and yoga teacher mentorship. In this podcast, we explore conscious business, yoga on and off the mat, and general lifestyle. Our aim is to help you live a more fulfilling and purposeful life. Whether you're an entrepreneur, yoga student, yoga teacher, or simply someone looking to make positive changes in your daily life. Join us as we share insights, tips, and stories to inspire you on your path to a more free-spirited life. So sit back, relax, and let's embark on a journey of self-discovery, adventure, and expansion. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Free Your Spirit podcast. I am super excited for this week's episode because we have Carlo on here, who is our really good friend from Tulum, Mexico. So my husband and I met him back in November 2021, my first women's retreat that I led there. And we just instantly connected with Carlo. He's such a hard worker. He's so diligent. You can tell that he is so passionate for what he does. He's one of the kindest people we've ever met. We have kept in touch with him, and he's basically the main reason we keep going back to Tulum. And everyone that meets him is just you could just see the joy that Carlo brings to people's lives. So I'm really, really excited to have him on here this week. And just to give you a little quick intro on him before he jumps on. So Carlo is a vegan athlete, fitness, and free diving professional. He is a mechanical engineer in aeronautics and Navy, ex-vice president of NAFA Sports International in Canada, and ex-president of the association in all Latin American countries. He trains professional athletes through bodybuilding, martial arts, calisthenics, yoga, circuit training, body alignment and adjustments, meditation, breathwork, and more. He also incorporates quantum physics techniques to be able to guide people through a lifestyle of well-being. From biohacking to tuning into the human biofield, he knows the body mechanics to perfection through his engineering perspective, involving quantum engineering mechanics in the human body. His nickname is the Ice Melter, and he uses ice baths to be able to hack the body's biology and generator of the human biofield. And he has a little quote for us at the end that I love. Law of attraction, manifesting, or creative thinking are part of our everyday lifestyles. Consciously or unconsciously, we are always thinking, and it affects our magnetic field. So I would like to welcome on Carlo. Carlo, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello.
What's the weather like in Tulum right now?
It's actually beautiful, though. It's nice and sunny outside. It's quite pretty, though.
Good. Awesome. We can't wait to be back there. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's typical, right? Awesome. So today we are going to be talking about the power within you. And we're just going to dive right in because we have so much amazing content just to tap into today. So Carlo, tell us, what do you mean when you say the power within you?
I mean, the question comes into asking, someone, who are you in reality? You're not your body. You're not your name. You're not what people think about you. You are pure source energy. You're pure essence of energy. And that goes down into your soul, who you truly are. And now connected with the body is literally kind of like a tool where the brain is the main controller of this amazing body that we have. So when I say the power within you is that you understand that you as pure source energy can then change your mind. And then that's where magic comes from. Change your mind and you can change anything you want. The attraction, manifesting, creation parts of life. You don't need nothing out of yourself. It's all here. It's all in the mind. So that's where the power is.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love this. So tell us, what are some of the tools and techniques that you use to help people cultivate this or really grasp an understanding of it?
So there is multiple techniques. The one that I literally like a lot because it time let's say time wise, setup wise, like it's more affordable yoga, such as like a great technique, such as like waking up and just doing some stretches or going to a yoga class, which is what I recommend always, like going to class, because then they can push you into those parts where you're like, oh my God, holding the breath, holding the pose. Okay, I got this. So it's quite a beautiful thing to do. Uh, Fitness, you can talk, let's say, also like swimming, walking in nature. It's most likely all kind of activities that will connect you to yourself, empower yourself, feel good. um, One of the things that I love to say always when I do my life coachings is that you have to have your personal space clean and clear. So that's pretty much the basics of how energy flows, where you wake up, how you wake up, what you do when you wake up. And then from there, everything follows.
Oh my gosh. I 100% agree with that. We have, in yoga, so salcha is cleanliness. And for me, this is something that's been super impactful because yes, it's cleaning our body, but it's also cleaning our space, right? And we have a word called vastu, which means like good space, and it's a place for good energy and prana to flow. So when Carlo and I were talking before, I just like loved that he stresses this so much because for me, I always think about like if my space is not clear, it's so hard for me to work, right? Because of all these distractions that come in, right? Like the clutter outside leads to clutter inside in the mind. So it's like when we take that space to clear everything out, like I notice how much clearer I feel, how much freer, and I can focus on what I'm actually doing. Do you, so like within space, do you have any tips for people of maybe even just like what you can do to keep your space clean, or like how do you, what does good energy mean to you, I guess? Or how
So
can you
let me give
create
you a little
that?
trick. Yeah, let me give you a little trick. It's not about you cleaning the space directly. It's about you first getting on the right state of mind that will resonate in your environment. So you first have to feel clean yourself. You have to be, like putting effort into yourself, such as like seeing yourself with respect. And then you wake up in the morning and you talk to yourself, what a beautiful day, good morning, like just kind of like empower yourself. And then from that, everything is going to align and you'll be doing exactly the cleaning with that in mind. So it's that kind of like code that you put in there into yourself, and then you make that happen.
So everything starts with us.
Correct.
And this is something you recommend doing like first thing in the morning just to kind of create that habit or that pattern throughout the day.
Yes, correct. I mean, it is always better to do it in the morning, or let's say sometimes it can happen that your body asks for more rest, and you wake up right after. You're like, I don't have time to clean. Don't be hard on yourself. It's totally fine. Your body needs more rest. You go about your day, but when you come back, you can put effort just into setting that code and generating that beautiful space.
Yes, I love that. So for yoga, I'm curious, what type of yoga do you love to practice?
Oh, there is all kinds of yoga practices. Nowadays, we have the newer ones, which are kind of like rocket yoga or,
Okay.
like power vinyasas. I like those practices. However, I also like the yin classes because it gets you more into like reoxygenating, moving lactic acid, all yoga practices are fun though. And hatha is literally the base and foundations that I most likely enjoy because it's kind of quite hard and it's nice. It
Yeah.
gets into those like back thinkings of the brain where you're like, what am I doing? Okay, can I hold this? I'm like, no. So all that conversation happening, you're able to see how when it's happening, you're like, I got this.
Yes, I know. I love hatha yoga. Like I feel like it's more about working, or how I've learned it, it's working with the energy of the body more so of like
Yes.
doing the physical practice and working with the energy of the body. And I've had even students say they're just like, I feel this rush of energy inside of me after I've led those practices before. And I'm like, yes, that is it. And people are like, I don't know what's happening, but I really love it. And I feel like Hatha doesn't get like a good rep, or I mean, like a lot of people don't know about it. We don't practice it a lot here. And I feel like people, at least like where we live in the US, I mean, those hot power classes are like the huge focus here. And they're great too. Just like you said, like a power class is great.
Yeah.
It teaches you to stretch your limits. But that hatha practice is so different because you really are, for me, I found it such like a meditative state. And again, like working with the
Yes.
energy of my body. So I love that you said that because it's been like such a profound practice for me too. And yeah,
I
awesome.
mean, yoga itself is supposed to be doing a inner workout such as an outer workout, and it connects both together. That's where like hatha practice come from.
Yes, working from the inside out. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to hear about the ice baths. I know you are the ice melter, and I've done some ice baths with you, but tell our listeners, like, what is the process of an ice bath?
So the process of the ice bath is most likely first a breath work. It is mandatory because it allows you to ground, it allows you to connect with yourself, um, literally empowering your inner selves, kind of like setting those goals already of grounding and just being. Um, I use different kinds of methods of breath working, and we put those together. The first one is Wim Hof method. Wim Hof, because he's been actually showing pretty much the world how uh, through breath working, you can change a lot, not only your mind, but you change your mind. And again, you change everything around, right? So it's setting that uh, process of empowering. That's the grounding part of breath working. Now, the second, let's say, the second breath work that I teach is a DMT activation, which allows you to understand why we are magic beings. I strongly suggest that you research what DMT is like, and then like it's quite impressive. It's a beautiful experience to have because once you understand who you truly are, which is pure source energy, then you're like, wow. So I do this in when I teach also like Kundalini activations. Then that's exactly where I show people how it works, literally to seeing without seeing. Well, seeing with the eyes closed. That's what I say.
I love that.
And the third breath work, which is one of my favorite ones as well, is the breath holding, right? So we hold our breaths in order to understand how our body tells our mind or starts throwing those alerts into the mind and telling the mind, you're not breathing, something's up. And the brain, if you allow the brain to respond, then it is only a ripple effect from there because it's going to emphasize into like the alert system. So the reason of this breath work is literally to empower the person and show them that if you, as who you truly are, control the mind, the body will follow the mind. The mind controls the body and you control the mind. That's what the first part of Ice Baths is. I feel is pretty much the most important one. And then after is all about fun. It's not only about, well,
Well,
I mean, for me already that I've been doing that practice for quite a long time. Yes, it gets fun because I understand that the outcome is going to be amazing. I know that the outcome is great. I know the like what's happening in that process is literally cooking a best version of myself, not only physically, because also it pumps up your immune system, like it opens up your vessels. So side story about this, I've had people that literally have had heart strokes or heart problems, and doctors had, like they had to tell them they had to go on surgeries and they take medications. And then I started doing ice baths with them. And now they started doing more, like emphasizing ice baths practices and ice bath plunges with doctors and so on, because they went back and told their doctors. And I'm like, what did you do? They're going to come and look for me. No, but it's totally fine. You guys were actually, I mean, it's all working with the body and the mind. And once you're in the ice, the first 1.5 minutes is where your body goes into same thing as the breath holding, telling the mind, what are you doing? Why am I here? And then your mind, because you have already understood the process of the empowerment of who you truly are, the mind goes into like, do I listen to it or do I listen to you? And that's where we get the chance of telling the mind, just breathe. And then we start just working on that. And all of a sudden, the cold goes away. Then after, when the cold goes away, I love to say, like a biohacking process.
Okay.
It's kind of, it's neuroplasticity. Some people know it as neuroplasticity, but it's literally biohacking process where I'm able to guide people into like setting up new codes and getting rid of the ones that don't work, kind of like working with those numbers.
Okay. Like
And,
patterning, or what do you mean by numbers?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, we are programs, right?
Okay.
It's all a program, and ourselves as who we truly are is not our bodies, but our bodies have a program. So when I talk about reprogramming, or when I talk about hacking, right? So it's like more into getting into those codes that don't function for us, that don't work no more towards the biggest self, because sometimes it could be done from creations from outer people or experiences, self blockages, and sometimes we don't realize these things, right, until we get rid of them. And then once we get rid of them and we set the new ones, you're like, wow, but why do I feel different? And I get this all the time. After ice bathing, people tell me, I feel a rush, but I feel that something changed, like my vision changed, something's happening. I'm like, great, enjoy it and love it. And after that, they call me and they're like, dude, I finally got this car. Dude, I finally changed my job. I quitted that thing. I quitted that guy. I this, that. So like, and I just tell them, like, just keep advancing. Just enjoy what your process. Enjoy what you're doing. And of course, like I always tell people, you don't do it from out of nowhere. You do it from out of love. So that's where the biggest essence of creation is, which is the reason why we are the most perfect creation ever, because we are literally created in the love essence of things. It's also proven by science, though.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that help. Well, I'll get into my journey with you in a second, but so you talked about how like that first minute and a half is really, really shocking to the system. And then after, is it 2 minutes that it gets like once you hit 3 minutes?
Well, no, once you hit a minute and a half,
okay,
then the biohacking process I can start, because that minute and a half actually you can already tell your brain what to do. You can tell your physical body what to do.
Okay. So basically get over that hump of a minute and a half, and then like the magic starts to come. So, and remind me, what is the longest? So I know you do these for like a really long period of time, but when you teach this, or like at Amansala, when you do a group, what is the longest amount of time that you have people do it, and why do you have them do it that time at the most?
Okay, so the first times, let's say first timers, I like to call this like first timers, because most of the people that don't know this practice, or literally sometimes have been in cold plunges but never in an ice bath, or they've done cryo and never an ice bath, then they're still first timers in an ice bath. And I like to, like get them to a good 3 minutes maximum.
Okay.
Sometimes if I know people have like a different practice on ice baths, if it's the first time doing it with me, I like to bring them to 3 minutes.
Okay.
And then let's say after around 2 minutes and a half, 2 minutes, I'm able to see how they feel, how they look. If there's any danger, I'll pull them out. If there is, if I see that they're working properly in the mind, if I see that they're actually working in themselves, then I can, like push them a minute more. And sometimes let's say I get people, and it's quite not too often though, because not a lot of people want to, let's say, have the time to do it all the time. And these guys actually like do it once a day. And when they come here, they're like, Carlo, I already do it like once a day. I want to advance my time. Okay, perfect. How do you want to do it? So I get them in the ice baths, and then I start with 3 minutes. And then the second time, 5 minutes. And then 8, 10. I've got people to do it around for 20 minutes already.
Awesome.
Myself, I've done it for an hour already.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's pretty much after half an hour, my brain just got into like, okay, now what? And I'm like, now this is the second part of the work. Enjoy it. Enjoy the next half an hour. I said 1 hour. I'm respecting 1 hour. It's kind of like respecting what I said, it's a self-practice. I did it as a self-practice.
Okay. So for you, when you get like to that 30-minute mark and you have another 30 minutes, is it just like you're trying to just get into the most meditative state that you can and focusing on your breath, or like what is going through your mind, I guess, for that 30 minutes?
I mean, the actual, let's say, it's pretty much, it goes in between like the body and mind, and then like you're feeling your body, you're feeling your mind, but you're being present. And that's why I call the purest essence of human being. Human means God, man means physical, and being is what we're supposed to be doing at all times. We're not supposed to be running, jumping, overthinking, or even thinking. We're human beings. And by being in the pure state of mind, then you're able to just be. So fully being in the now, in the present. And it's all a work into like, yeah, sometimes you see those cloud passes like, like, oh, the cold is feeling, the body's feeling this, oh, the cold, oh, the water, oh, look at that person running. So it's more like you see all these things happening and you're just like working just on not pushing it, but just like little by little, just getting back into the breath. And it's all in the breath. It's just breath. So it's literally a breath work the entire session.
Yeah.
And then when I do it on people, it's the breath work, but then the biohacking process that I guide them to.
And so when we did the breath work with you, I think it was like 40 minutes of breath work we did almost. And I know you talk a little and explain it, but it's a long time. And I honestly don't think I could have done the ice bath as proficient, if that's the word, as I did without the breath work beforehand. It's just and it's interesting too, because at one point, like you said, you can get kind of dizzy from it or almost get that like kind of natural high feeling. And that's getting into the DMT levels, right? Is that correct?
When you get depends on which breath work we do.
Okay.
So when we're doing like let's say the hypertropical breath work, which is a DMT activator, it's the same thing. Let's say like when you have relations with your loved one, or when a mom is giving birth, what's happening is that they're pushing and compressing, like kind of like their heart that pumps up blood to the brain and the pineal gland right here. And the pineal gland gets to secrete DMT. Now, that DMT is literally what allows you to dream at night. It is also what you feel right before passing away and right after you're born. Sorry.
Okay.
And that feeling of like of dizziness that you might not dizziness, that feeling that you get from the DMT is literally who you truly are, which is pure essence of everything. It's an expansion, because then when people do it, myself, I do it too often. So I realize it's not only just being yourself, is that you're part of the universe. We are part of this creation. So as your expansion goes into like, and then it opens up your vision into like feeling, seeing with more clarity, and being. Now, the first breath work, which is literally the Wim Hof method, we are oxygenating our systems, depleting our system from carbon dioxide that will allow your system to be filled up with oxygen. And it makes you feel kind of like lightheaded a little bit. Okay. Is because of this oxygenation process. Yeah, exactly. So it makes you feel like, wow, but it's not like dizzy. It's not like, it's not something that's dangerous, especially, when you do it in my classes. But
yeah, no, it didn't feel like that at all. It was just it was different.
You can push some people. Yeah, you can push some people to, like some people like to push themselves. And I always tell them, do not push, just follow the instructions. Yeah. Because I am not only doing it for one person, I'm reading the room itself. So for me, the most important thing is keeping people safe and get the real experience. There is no danger, we're getting the real experience. So
absolutely. And you do such a great job. I think we had like 20 people the last time I did it, maybe even more. And you did such a great job of facilitating the entire room. And, you can tell, I felt safe the whole time. It was just very different sensations than I've felt before. And I'm so used to, in yoga, we do nose breathing. So doing like exhales through the mouth is I'm not super, like the way we did it, I'm not super used to that. So it was just different for me. But I enjoyed it for sure. And then being able to take that into the ice bath, take that experience, and everything in my life, I don't think there's a lot of things I could do in life without breathing practice. Getting a tattoo, getting a shot at the doctor, I don't know, anything like that. Like I have to breathe through all of these things. Dry needling, like all these crazy things I have to do these days. And I'm just like, if I didn't know how to breathe properly, I don't know how I'd get through any of this. And that for me was the ice bath of, so I guess getting into like my experience a little bit with you of it, of when you first get in, I mean, it's such a shock to your system. And instantly you're like, why am I doing this right now? And you know why you're doing it, right? Like you have that deeper understanding. And I know, like you said, it's the result afterwards. And I have to say, I mean, it's such a hard feeling to describe, but I really did feel more powerful. Like I really did feel more of myself. And I think having your guidance the whole time too, because you say, you know, you are love, you are pure essence, and you talk us through it. And it would get me like pumped up inside, and it would get me like really pumped up for like possibilities within my life. And for me, that was like super exciting. And the first time I did it too, kind of same thing where I was like, oh my God, I am limitless. I can do anything I want in this world. I can have anything I want in this world. I can be anyone I want to be. And it really pumped me up. And like you said, I feel like there was a switch that came from that. I also think Tulum has such a magical energy too. So I feel like doing it in Tulum, and like also you're with a bunch of like-hearted, like-minded beings. And I feel like obviously, right, when you have more than two people together, it enhances that frequency and vibration. And like you're doing this all together and kind of in the same space, but different experiences, but you're experiencing it together. So it's really so profound. And then to kind of hear you in the background talking us through, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think it would be as impactful of an experience for me without the breath work before and without your guidance, because there was times where I'm like, F this. And then I would just like go to Carlo's voice and be like, okay, everything's okay. Like you're safe. It wasn't anything like that. It's just, it's a whole nother level of an obstacle to overcome. So within that, like, what would you say to someone? Like, why would you do this? Or what would kind of be like your elevator pitch, I guess, to someone in order to do this, if that makes sense?
I always tell people, well, I am not, let's say, Ice Bath itself, self-empowerment and self-love is not something that I sell. People come because of those reasons. And people that come for me for those reasons are already into that practices, or they're already researching or willing to do those things. So like I like to tell people, you know, especially when I have big groups and you don't know who's into it or who's not, then, you know, like you just have to tell them what it is for. And it's literally it is one of the tools that I use for hacking process. So let's say when you set an intention, you have the intention here and you're here and you're trying to go from here to here, you have sometimes a ladder to go or sometimes a path to follow. And during that path and that intention, then you have to be working your energy towards it. An ice bath is literally a hack. It's just kind of like a straight, you know, like one quick jump.
Like quantum leaping? Is that what it is, or different?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. You said it right. So literally working on the in the quantum field in order to achieve those manifestations, those intentions, change that you want to do in yourself, you name it, it's all within yourself. You don't need nothing external. So that's pretty much an ice bath is a tool of getting to those points, or like doing those things. Simple.
So afterwards, if you know, so for people that do the ice bath with you, is there anything that you recommend them to do afterwards? Anything to be more aware of, like journaling, just anything to continue the process, right? Like all these practices don't end when the practice physically ends. So how do you suggest people to continue to take this work with them?
I mean, they can always, like I tell people, if they want to, let's say, Zoom call me, or if they want me to book something private with them, they can always do it through my Instagram. They can do it through my WhatsApp. Or if, let's say, they want to do it also with themselves, you know, they can always just jump in an ice bath and get that reminding of the ice bath that I did with them until they feel you need a new one. You know, it's like, for me as a personal trainer, or as a coach or as a teacher, I go and take classes too. I go and have my own personal trainers, because I work around me, I work with people, but then sometimes I get to myself and I'm like, dude, I'm tired. I'm like, okay, I know I can do it on myself, but I just want to rest my brain.
Yeah.
So I go and ask people for help. I'm like, hey, work with this, please.
Yes. And that's what we have to do as teachers and coaches, right? Like it's so important for teachers, coaches, and mentors to have their own teachers, coaches, and
Yes,
mentors
correct.
because we need to be nourished and healed too. And sometimes, like you said,
Yes.
you get to that level where it's like, I don't have a whole lot more right now. And sometimes being around someone else or being back in that energy of your mentor, whoever I mean, you need that. I mean, same thing with my Ashtanga practice. Like I know I can do my Ashtanga practice at home. And if I really need to, I will. But like, I would rather drive 30 minutes to our shala, be with my teacher, and be with all the other students in that practice space and in that breathing space than do it at home. And for me, I'm like, I have such a better experience of it, of being in that energy. And like, it is more nourishing to me too. So I 100% relate to that and feel that. And I'm sure any teacher, coach, or mentor out there can also relate to that. But it's so important that we have those people for ourselves too, of course. So
Very important, though.
yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. Awesome. And now for the last thing I'll ask on the ice bath, I could keep talking about this forever because I'm so fascinated by them.
I think we both are.
Yeah. And you're the only reason I got hooked on these in the first place. Like our first trip to Tulum, all the other women on my retreat, they were like, what do you mean you're doing an ice bath? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do it. And they're like, I don't understand. And I was just like, this is something I feel like I need to do for myself. But anyway, so this is something that people can do at home. Like, you can do this like unattended, I guess I should say. Like, what would you recommend? So say for me, if I wanted to start doing these at home in Charlotte, North Carolina, like what would you recommend for me to do and for anyone else listening?
I mean, if you have a tub and you can get ice.
Okay, that's it. Okay. I guess I overcomplicate things.
I mean, if you have a tub and you can set ice, then that's a great way of doing it. Especially, let's say if you have a like a partner or, like you want to do it. And also it's good. Let's say you can put kids in it. Why not?
Okay.
So like you can just tell them like, hey, jump in. They'll play with it a little bit. They're kids. They're gonna, I kid you not. It's quite interesting though how magical we are. And so sometimes as we grow up, either people around us, jealousies or so on, start trying to take that away from us because it happens, like, well, not that it should happen though, but it happens.
It does.
We're all co-creators, and sometimes we have people around us that don't want to see us succeed, don't want to see you grow, or don't want to see you do better because they go like, but me, so it's all those things that as ourselves, once you're totally 100% being, which is where breathwork comes in very handy, which is the pure essence of yourself, then you can catch into the subconscious writings and blockages, and you're like, oh, that's not mine.
Yes.
Oh, no, thank you. And then you're able to protect your space, protect your peace. And that's how it works.
Yeah.
So you can put your kids to work, you can put your husband to work, your wife to work.
Yeah.
It's quite a beautiful way of empowering each other. And not to say that literally, once you get it after an ice bath, you have melatonin, serotonin, and all kinds of amazing enzymes and compounds that your brain releases that make you feel good, euphoric. So it's like it's a natural way of just feeling good.
Right.
And that's what we're all looking for in life, just feeling that beautiful high.
Hell yeah. I agree. And then so for the breathing that you do at the ice bath, is there anything in like particular that people should do when they're in the ice bath, or is it really just any type of deep free breathing?
I mean, there is the Wim Hof method. It's something that I recommend, pretty much before the ice bath, because it allows you to center yourself. And especially if you do it through his practices, you can always research him on YouTube, or he actually has like things that he has like his own apps. I like to emphasize, his image, because he's the word that he's put into the world in order to kind of, people call it mainstream it, but most likely to present it to the world, has been very accurate. And I find that very respectful and honorable from him to put himself in such a delicate space, because a lot of the times people talk about like doctors talking about like pharma and all these things, right? So so he's been putting out the practice in order to like empower people, allow them to feel stronger, allow them to feel better. So that's pretty much like the actual essence of breath working is the grounding part of it. So if you can, breath work itself, when you're talking about breath work, I was going to say breath working have been going on since ages.
Yeah.
It's been going on since like, you name when, so it's pretty much impressive to see how we have lost those practices and now we come into like kind of like regain those practices because of how we are or who we are. And seeing him going through all he does in order to show science the real part of science, that's for me the respectful part of it. So if you're able to go and get a Wim Hof's app or YouTube channel or whatever you want to do as as breath work with him, then you should do it. 100% recommended.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Maybe we can link something at the bottom for people too that they can find also.
I can 100%.
Yeah.
I'll send you some of like the breath works that he does.
Awesome.
And then people actually can just have a little taste of it because he has like full classes too that he does sometimes on podcast and so on. But honestly speaking, same thing with me as a personal trainer. When I teach people, when I do it on Zoom, I like to see people's face. Either I do it like face to face or like this, where I can see them, I can see the reaction, I can see how is it working. Because when they do it from podcast or you do it from somewhere else, you don't have that person seeing what you're doing wrong or if you have the right, setup or stuff that you're doing. So it's always recommended. If you want to go and try the fun thing actually in his backyard, you can always research him too.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, the breath is super important. We could probably do a whole episode just on breath work and pranayama and the importance of breathing too. But
correct.
So, okay, awesome. So as we talk about the power within, we've talked about some of the things that you can do are a yoga practice, like having this nice cleansing space or clearing your space, obviously the ice baths. What other self-care practices do you have? Like, how else can people continue to like cultivate this relationship with themselves and build, like, come back home to that power within them? What else do you
I always say, feel good, look good.
I love that.
So what I mean is that you have to be loving yourself, talk to yourself. There is no one that will give you the purest love than yourself. So you can have your husband, you can have your kids or anyone, but the only person that can give yourself that pure essence of love is yourself. And then from that practice, you'll be opening up. You'll be opening up to so much more that you'll be quite amazed. The world is not only what our eyes see.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's beautiful. And that's one of the reasons I always love, coming to Tulum and being in that space with you, whether we're on an excursion or doing the ice bath or we're just talking during, meals, because you always have this just amazing mindset around this and you're always sharing, these practices in every area of the life, in our life, which is so important, right? That's for yoga. It's like, how can we really take this practice off the mat and live it into our life? Whether we're just with friends, we're eating food, we're in an ice bath, we're, at the ruins in Tulum or walking and shopping, whatever it is. And I just always love your perspective on this and how you bring literally all the tools, the techniques you do, you really do live that. And it's so inspiring to see that. And I think, just for the participants that I've brought into Tulum, I can see them just feeling like lit up and like something woke up inside of them just from being in that space. And that's right. Like these are just,
Tulum itself is quite magical, but I have to emphasize this because the Mayan culture is just amazing. These guys were obsessed with mathematics, quantum physics, understanding of things that nowadays would go like, we needed a computer for that. How these guys did it without computer, without the technology we have nowadays. So that's the secret behind it. And it's quite impressive though. So everywhere that you're in the Riviera Maya, you're able to see all these things.
Yeah.
Like positioning of their towns and so on. Tulum itself is a university for them, was a university for them. So it's one of the biggest important parts of it.
And now, so tell us too, you travel a lot now and do these ice baths and do all these different workshops as well. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So whenever I actually go out, I make kind of like a route of places that I go, or if like the people want to book me, let's say in yoga studios or so on, I've been doing them in Miami, California, pretty much like all over like places in the States where people want to bring me. So it's like California, I go to the South, I go to the Bay, and they've been willing to bring me to Phoenix and New York. So it's like right now I have all these kind of requests. So I'm trying to make a route and times that can work with the yoga studios, and then do them, let's say like once a year, and just work with that.
Awesome. So if someone listening owns a yoga studio or owns a space, they can reach out to you and perhaps have you come. Very cool.
Correct.
Awesome. What else are you doing right now besides the ice baths? Like, what are your other offerings? Tell us a little bit more. What are you up to?
Right. So I'm quite balanced out in my life. I work in wellness, but I also do like festivals. I create festivals. So on my festivals is something really fun because we work with the music, and like there is this essence of like just kind of like working and empowering, like each other through dancing, and just kind of like being in that loving resonance and frequency. And something that is quite interesting is that in my festivals, in my parties, not to brag about it, but there is no one kind of like committing to craziness or just, let's say, no rubbing, no fighting. People look at each other and it's always smiling. So that's one of the things that I love about what I do. Like you set the tone and the tone responds. So that's pretty much my events. I also work on, let's say, bodybuilding. I opening up a retreat center as well. Well, it's already there. If you guys also, let's say, want, let's say, to book or pre-book, you can always message me as well. And it's in a secluded area. There is no noise around there. It's really pretty. And we're still in the Mayan culture, the Mayan town, Mayan land. It's quite impressive. So if you guys want to know more about it, you can always shoot me up and message me about that.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, and we'll definitely awesome. We you'll have access to all of the ways to connect with Carlo in the show notes as well. So his Instagram will be there, any of his offerings, and just how you can connect with him too. So we'll have that at the bottom for you. And Carlo, is there anything else that you want to leave our listeners with today? Any other last message? Anything that we didn't get to touch on that you just really want to share?
There's only one thing only, and one thing only that you have to understand. Change your mind and you can change anything you want. If you don't like something about your life, if you don't like something about, let's say, some things are running your life, or something that happened, or, like your feeling or how it's going to change your mind. Let go of anything that doesn't work towards the higher self. And that's the only thing. You have to love yourself, see yourself as the highest. Something that I say to people though all the time. We always talk about giving the best out of us. But how do you want to give the best out of yourself if you don't have the best in yourself? So it's a self-investment into being good with yourself, allowing yourself to take care of yourself. And then from that, if you give yourself the best, then you're able to give the best. Simple as that. So you don't have to fight with people about your value at all. We're valuable people. So whenever they want to fight, you can just raise the middle finger and say, bye-bye.
Oh my gosh. That is a perfect message to leave with. Thank you so much. I love that.
You're welcome. By the way, the place that I have is beachfront though. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. That's really good to know. So good. Well, guys, if you want to meet Carlo in person as well, definitely come to Tulum with me. My 2024 dates will be announced within the next couple of months as well. And again, you have all the links for of how to connect with Carlo and how to work with Carlo. Maybe he is coming to a yoga studio near you and leading an ice bath. So definitely check that out of where he's going to be. Carlo, thank you so much for being here today. I'm super excited to have you. It's always such a blessing to just be in your energy. And I'm glad I get to see your face right now and just to be with you again. So thank you so much. And I'm really excited to share all of this with our listeners. So thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciate your time. Much appreciate also allowing me to share also like this beautiful message that I feel that everyone should know this. So, and let's just keep working on ourselves and just loving each other. That's the main basics of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, we will see you for our next episode next Thursday. So continue to tune in. Thank you so much. And again, this has been your host, Carole Frey of the Free Your Spirit podcast. Until next week, keep showing up as your truest, most authentic self.